Oh, now I see.
We're live. Do you see us on the channel yet?
Yeah, I see Star Wars discussion.
Okay, we're in. Hey everyone, Lucas Green here, of course, on the Lucas Green channel with Ty, also known as Fazbear. Welcome, Fazbear.
Hey, this is Ty Levy, and I'm with Lucas Green once again. And we're going to be discussing the Star Wars franchise and if currently Disney is milking it for all it's worth. This was actually my idea because I feel like it's an issue that a lot of fans have been concerned about, and it's certainly been on my mind.
Fair enough. Granted, I don't think us making this discussion will really change anything to stop or change Disney's mind, because Disney isn't listening to anyone.
Yeah, Disney's going to do what they want to do. They're a multi-million company, maybe more than that. Actually, no, I know they're more than that.
Billion.
But they're slowly losing money because people want to boycott them.
Really? That's the reason? Because I'm wondering why. My question is, I'm assuming the reason why they're doing this is to make more money. But really, if Disney's making so much money, what's the point of doing all these shitty sequels and films if they already got lots of money as it is?
Yeah, they're not just doing shitty films. Like, they're not just doing shitty sequels. They're doing live-action remakes, which is making them billions each time they come out with one. And people are getting sick of it. People want original content.
It feels like they're more. If that's the case, then it feels like Disney is trolling the fans. But my question is, why are they doing it if they know it's not successful?
Honestly, I couldn't really answer that accurately, but it does make them a lot of money. And money seems to be. Actually, no, it is the motivator.
Well, we got
plain and simple.
Okay, we got some comments. Seriousness TV, welcome. This is going to be good. Thank you. Jaden Red, welcome, yo. Colby
Yeah.
Rustcamp. I love Star Wars. Me too. My name is named after Star Wars. Jaden Red, of course. You want to? I'd love one if I had one.
If only you had.
And of course, seriousness.
If only you had a sister named Leia.
And of course, it's to push the message. Yeah. No, indeed. Actually, my sister's name is Chloe, but that's another story. Anyway, according to Seriousness, he says it's to push the message. And what's the message to push? Money is the key?
What's the message?
Money, I guess.
Which is quite the opposite of what you want to teach people, that money is everything.
Well, in a way, yeah, they're right. But in a way, showing that humanity is solely about corruption is not a good sign for humanity.
Yeah, if I were to make a movie that would make some money, I'd rather it be a financial flop than it not be good. You know what I'm saying? If it could be both, that's amazing.
Well, the thing is
you'd rather it be good than just putting real in financial income.
Well, I've said this in a YouTube comment or something. I said that Disney is a filmmaking thing, and back in the day, they would care about the films they made and try to put effort into them. Nowadays, they feel like they're just making films because, yeah, we're a filmmaking company. We just make films. We don't care the shit. We just get them out there, make as much money as we can. Good.
Yeah, it seems like they just want to. They're scheduling projects yearly, and as a result, they're just rushing production of everything that they do.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I don't know about you, but I've realized this. It feels to me when it comes to Star Wars, it feels like they're doing stuff like to make what the fans would like, as in, but not like, oh, we need to make the fans happy. I feel like let's see what they like. It comes like, oh my god, our shit is going down. We make the fans happy. What do the fans like? They like an Ahsoka series. Okay, get on that. Kenobi series. Yeah. Get on that. They want this. They want this. We're gonna make these shows. Get lots of money. Go for it. But shouldn't we put development? Fuck that shit. We need this clip now. Sorry. And then again, it's my channel.
Pretty accurate. Yeah, that is pretty accurate. Like, judging by the reception of the Star Wars sequels, I've never seen more hatred from the fan base ever since the prequel trilogy. And keep in mind that people were really looking forward to the prequel trilogy at the time because George Lucas had these stories in his mind when he was releasing A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
Right.
He had the part 4 out first, but he had these other stories in mind because he didn't release them first because he claimed that they didn't have the technology to do these stories. which I don't know about you, but the CGI and effects look worse in the prequels than they do in the original trilogy. And for the 70s, the original trilogy was mind-blowing in terms of effects.
How'd you
Like, take
go?
Jabba, for example. Jabba in the prequel trilogy looks just terrible. And also, may I remind you about Jar Jar Binks and some of the actors? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, to be fair though, I can tolerate the prequels because at least with the prequels, they had room for improvement. With the sequel trilogy, it wasn't that room for improvement. It was just okay. Another reason why the prequels don't bother me is because the prequels do not. Okay, aside from Darth Vader and Yoda, I guess maybe Kenobi, but no, fuck it, take it back. I take it back. One of the few good things about the prequels is Ewan McGregor's performance as Kenobi, and everyone can agree with that. So
yeah, everyone loves the hello there, you know?
Yeah, so there are some good things about the prequel trilogy that I like. Darth Maul, badass. Whether or not his performance
seeing the origin story of Darth Vader, as
that too.
over dramatic as it was,
I agree. This is
that
one of
was
my favorite
awesome
villains.
to see.
Count Dooku, awesome. Christopher Lee is always a win. So there are some good things to like about the prequels. I mean, also the saber fights are way better. So there are some
the effects
things
for the lightsabers are good.
The mystery of Darth Plagueis. Yeah.
Everything else, like the CGI beings, sentient beings like Jabba and Jar Jar, looked uncanny.
Oh,
which
yeah.
makes sense for the early 2000s.
But
it's still uncanny looking at it today.
There were some little things here and there. In all fairness, though,
yeah,
I don't know when. When did the original trilogy get those special editions where they had CGI Jabba in?
I think that was always in.
Oh, really?
Jabba was like a huge puppet in the original trilogy. Now, in the prequel trilogy, he was all CGI.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they did such a good job with him for the 80s, 70s. You know.
Do you think it's right to call Darth Vader the greatest movie villain of all time? From the original trilogy, yes, one of the most great. I don't think the prequels ruined Vader for me. I mean, that's debatable. I mean, to you, Ty, when the prequels came out, did Hayden Christensen's performance of Anakin ruin what Darth Vader meant to you when the original trilogy was in?
Honestly, no. Darth Vader is still a badass character in the original trilogy. But the thing is, we don't really get to see much of him as Vader. We just see Anakin. And yes, some of Hayden's line delivery, like, you underestimate my power, is awkward, and it's been memed to death. I
will say this, though, because the thing of George Lucas, he's a type of director that's going on a visual perspective solely. So, what I will say is a positive thing for Hayden Christensen's performance is, when he does give the mean look, he's got it nailed. Like, when he's on that flowing path, okay, yeah, the shitty line, you underestimate my power. But before he gives that line, he gives these stares that are like...
He's got the death stare, you know?
Yeah. Like, this is the end for you, my master. Before he says these shitty lines, he has these really intense stares. And there's like that one scene where he's killing the separatists, he turns the camera. Yep.
Yeah.
He pulls it off.
And he also acted well when he was being burnt alive by the lava in Mustafar.
Well, then again, anyone could have done that. but I'm not saying anyone could do that. But I feel like they were just letting out. Yeah. Sorry. Do you think? Yeah, read that one. The prequels had an idea and creativity. The sequels were simply the money. Yeah, we kind of established this. The money makers to push nostalgia. Yeah,
again, they were made because George Lucas had these ideas, and he felt that they weren't ready to be made because they didn't have the technology to make them, which I don't understand. Looking at the original trilogy's effects with the more uncanny CGI in the prequels, I just don't get where he's coming from. Well, one of the reasons why he said he didn't want to do the other trilogy was that he's like when he's finished the prequels, he was like, what, 60 to 78, 60 to 70? And he's like, you need time to make these movies. And he's an old man. No offense to the guy, I'm really sorry about that. But in all fairness, he knows that he's old. And he knows he's limited time on the planet. So he doesn't really know, he knows if he has the time to make these movies, which is why he gave it to... Okay, as much as giving it to Disney was a bad move,
his whole reason for giving it, from what I understand, he got, I forgot the price, what it was for $4 billion for Star Wars to Disney, the price was, but he gave all that money that he made from that to charity, which, regardless if he gave to Disney or not, the fact that he gave all the money he got from Disney to charity is a very generous cause. So claps, I can't do it because I'm on my phone, but claps to George.
Yeah, I can give him some claps.
Because, you know, he could have easily used the money for like a selfish thing, but according to us, he gave it to charity. I'm not sure which charity, but you help people, George. So you may have had some shitty decisions with your whole movie making back then, but at the end of the day, you put the fans first, and I appreciate you for that. So there you go.
Let's give salute to George.
I think
I will
Hayden
say
is a very
that even though I will say the fact that the prequels weren't made when the original trilogy was coming out, it makes the reveal of Darth Vader being Luke's father all the more shocking.
Yeah, because there's a few retcons of how those movies were made, of like if they wanted him to be, which I'll get into in a second. But 1 second. Jack Griffin says favorite Star Wars film. First of all, I am not saying the prequel trilogy because I'm going to say a few things. No, sorry, I'm not counting the sequel trilogy because there's a few things I want to say on that, but I'll get to that. What I will say,
mine are The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Really? I'm surprised because people normally say either New Hope or Empire normally.
I mean, I get why people don't like Return of the Jedi as much as the first two because of the Ewoks.
Right.
People seem to complain about the Ewoks a lot. Not as much as Jar Jar, but people hate the Ewoks, and I understand why.
Okay. For me, it comes down to, this is like putting a gun to my head. If I had to pick one, and if I had to pick one movie to watch, it would be New Hope. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I know people before you slam the keyboards, it's because its story is very simple and it gives you an ending that you can be happy with. I do like the way Empire, I'm not shitting on Empire's ending, because again, the way that ends, I think that's the first time it's ever been done where the heroes have had such a low blow, where they've lost Han Solo and Luke has lost his battle with Vader, and he finds out this truth. So there's a lot of low blows. And yeah, it's best story-wise, but I think it had New Hope had such a humbling, mysterious vibe to it, and it felt to me, and I've heard this from people who are grown-ups, that it felt to them like their own cute little Star Wars venture. Like it felt like them as children, like their own Star Wars adventure made from comics was brought to life on screen, and that's a moment you can really cherish in your heart. So that's why, maybe it's nostalgia from me. But I feel like there are so many good moments in New Hope that it is a strong toss-up, but I do put New Hope above me because of it. At the end of the day, say what you like about Empire. Say what you like about Empire. I love Empire, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't for New Hope, we wouldn't have Empire, would we? So
I like Return of the Jedi because I feel like it was the perfect finale for this franchise. Like Vader stopping Palpatine from killing Luke because of the memories he had of Padme. And he wanted to really keep what was left of Padme by saving Luke. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're counting the prequels in this universe from your knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, the prequels still happened technically. Even though they weren't made at that time, they still happened.
Yep.
And the final moments between Vader and Luke was a very powerful scene.
No, indeed. Comments.
There wasn't really a redemption available for Vader, in my opinion,
right?
Unless he was about to die, because with all the atrocities that he commit, it just wouldn't be appropriate for them to redeem him completely.
Fair enough. Seriousness. I think Hayden is a very underrated performer. The acting in the sequels is just abysmal. The sequel, yeah. And we can't forget the dialogue in the original was so trash that Alec Guinness hated it even. Strangely enough, he came back for the sequels, both Empire and Return of the Jedi, and even it's a shitty performance. If his words, if he's not playing it at his best, it's a great least performance.
Yeah.
And of course, Seriousness also says, I mean, the redub over Jason Wingreen's voice is just disappointing when the line is the delivery was so bad. Oh, really? Okay.
I feel bad for some of the people who were involved in the prequels. Like the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, and Jake Lloyd, who was young Anakin.
Oof.
With Jake
Yeah.
Lloyd, he was bullied at school because of his performance in the movie, and he was later, when he was an adult, he was convicted of something. I don't know
Yeah.
what the crime was, but he was sent to jail.
I've heard some stories that he wanted to kill himself at some point, which is very fucked up.
Yeah, it was because he was being bullied at school, and even the fan base was bullying him.
Well, I can't do it, but again, claps to Jake Lloyd for putting through all that bullshit, and I guess Jar Jar Binks as well, as much as like he's an unhated character.
Ahmed Best, that's his name.
Yeah. Okay, especially to Jake Lloyd.
Ahmed Best also was suicidal.
Yeah.
He was suicidal because he was being bullied by the fan base.
So especially to Jake Lloyd, claps to him for putting up all that bullshit. I'm happy he's still around because, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can watch a video of him being interviewed about his role in Star Wars and how he was bullied by the fan base to the point where he wanted to kill himself.
And yeah, but that's not his...
where he was also getting death threats from the fan base, which is just unacceptable.
Yeah, that's not his fault though. It's more of George Lucas and the writers probably and the directing. So it's not really his fault per se. He was just told how to act.
Now listen, it's understandable to hate Jar Jar. He's really annoying. That's just my opinion. But sending death threats to an actor for doing what he was directed to do, there's no excuse for that.
Jack Griffin, if you had to pick one over actor to do Darth Vader's voice other than James Earl Jones, who would it be?
Oh, James Earl Jones is it, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's saying who would you choose besides James Earl Jones as Vader if it had to be another actor? I think
there's an actor called Ralph Ineson. You know him?
I think
Ralph Ineson has a really deep voice, almost like a demon's. Watch the movie The Witch from 2015, I want to say. And he plays the character named William. And just listen to his voice, even when he's speaking normally. Right. He was even the demon Asmodeus in the movie The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe. Where he plays a demon, Asmodeus. Okay. And that's his natural voice. He's not changing it. There's no effects. That is his deep voice. Listen to it and you'll see.
I'll say Vin Rames, and if you don't know who Vin Rames is, his most popular role, or one of his most popular roles, is he played the agent in Lilo and Stitch, Cobra Bubbles. So I'll say his voice. Why not?
Oh, Kevin Michael Richardson.
Kevin Michael Richardson. I think he's overused, but I want to give Vin Rames, who voiced the agent, Cobra Bubbles, the shot because he doesn't get much acting stuff. Kevin Michael Richardson gets lots of acting stuff. I think he's good under his belt. But I'm not saying no. I'm just saying it'd be cool.
But what about Michael Leon Woolley or Dennis Haysbert?
They
both have really deep, booming voices.
But don't worry, Jack. You're fine because from what I understand, at age 90, James Earl Jones had retired, and Star Wars had made a deal with him. If he sold his voice rights to Disney, I believe, for the AI project, which is coming out recently, so they can make Vader for many years to come, even past his legacy, which is awesome. Which is pretty awesome because that means James Earl Jones
still being paid for it. Despite it being AI, he's still being paid for it.
So you're saying it's like he's still that Disney is still paying James for this, like it's like a subscription type thing.
Yeah, he's still being paid for them to use his voice in AI.
That's pretty awesome.
I understand why they're doing it as well, like because along with him being retired, his voice just is not the same as it used to be.
They have tried to masquerade it up like, oh, because of stuff on Mustafar, he was this and he needs to heal, or because of his spiritual shit of Padme's loss, or Anakin, or Vader, or Obi-Wan Kenobi hitting him, he's become a bit dated in the voice or something. And then suddenly he becomes young again and has a younger voice. But okay.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, doesn't it?
Or maybe it's his force powers. He's such a strong in the force.
It's not like his voice sounded crystal clear in the original trilogy.
Or you could just
It's
say
not like
that
that at
on, I
all.
mean, the other excuse is, oh, his suit wasn't working properly because it was still new at the time. But now it's all good. It just took New Hope to make it right,
So they're basically just making things up.
pretty much. Thoughts on Harrison Ford not being a big fan of Han Solo? Okay. I
Ooh,
guess I will give the sequel credit, the sequel trilogy that. I mean, yeah, they killed his character off, so they gave him. They gave a man. At least they gave someone a respectful wish.
that was
So
Harrison Ford's idea for Han Solo to die.
yeah, so at least they gave him a respectful wish because the guy is what 70 at the time. I'm okay with Han Solo
Yeah,
being
he wanted
killed
to
off.
move on.
Yeah,
He
fair enough. I'm
recently did
okay with
a.
that.
I mean, he recently did a new Indiana Jones movie.
If you had to pick one over, yeah, brother, or up to chap. So we're good to go. Of course, it's a lemon shows up. Hi, Lucas. Ty. What was my favorite?
One of my
What was
favorite
your
Star
favorite?
Wars video games.
Oh, Force
I
Unleashed
never
2.
played any of the games.
Of course. I'm down for Force Unleashed 2. It's my favorite Star Wars game. It's the Lego games are good too, don't get me wrong, but if I had to like just say the next Star Wars game, the Force Unleashed 2 comes to my mind. It's about if you don't, it's the clone of Darth Vader's secret apprentice called Star Killer. Because this is cool. I like this. Where they actually asked George Lucas, they have to according to what I didn't know this, but they have according to this, you have to ask the creators what they can and cannot do, which of course is obvious. But the fact that they asked him like, is it possible that Vader could have a secret apprentice? And personally, I'd say yes, because Vader's that he's even mentioned in the prequel trilogy that he plans to overthrow the Emperor, so it is plausible he would do this. And of course, Drew's like, I didn't think of that ever before. George, come on, it's very plausible that Anakin would do this because you even I understand him. I like George and all, but he makes me scratch my head because he said that I never thought that he could have a secret apprentice, even though that he wrote down in his script that Anakin wants to overthrow the Emperor, and he's already written that the rule of two of the Sith. So it makes me question: did you forget about that? I guess he did.
Sometimes George doesn't think a lot of things through, you know?
Okay.
George doesn't think a
Well,
ton of things
yeah.
through sometimes.
The name
So,
Star
the
Killer, of course.
sequels.
Yeah. The name Star Killer coming from apparently it's the original name for Luke Skywalker was going to be Luke Starkiller, which due to
Nah,
reasons
no,
it
no,
was
no.
changed.
Skywalker's better.
Yeah, well, it sounds less more brutal. I mean, maybe if Luke had turned evil, Luke, your new Sith Lord, will be Darth Star. That sounds pretty badass. Now I think about it. Darth Star Killer. That'd be cool.
I think just Star Killer sounds badass alone.
Oh yeah, but yes, Skywalker, of course. Then they named the flipping Death Star cannon in Force Awakens after that too, just because. I guess story reason why. I don't care. I don't care if Disney says, "Oh, the Force Awakens is non-canon." I'm sorry, the Force Unleashed is non-canon. I'm counting it because if you think about it, there's no negative effect for having the Force Unleashed in because Vader could have had lots of apprentices over the years before of New Hope, like because he's even mentioned that he wants to take over the Empire, and every time he tries, they don't last because they always fail him because they're not powerful as Luke, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of the Force Awakens, let's discuss the sequels.
Well, the Force Awakens. I don't like the Force Awakens like so many people, but I can tolerate it because to me, the Force Awakens is like Batman and Robin. Yeah, it's a bad movie, but I'm laughing at how bad stupid it is.
It's fun in a way, you know.
Yeah, I can
But
watch.
Want to know something? Here's something I find pretty sad. When I watched The Force Awakens and knowing that a new trilogy was going to start, I'm looking at the aesthetics and the new costumes for the stormtroopers, the backgrounds, effects. I'm thinking this had so much potential. This could have been amazing. But the story just let everyone down.
Oh yeah.
The fact that one of the characters, Finn, who is a main character who, despite being a main character, served no purpose other to get his ass kicked. Him being a former stormtrooper, and maybe he could have turned into a Jedi, which did not happen. That could have been an interesting story rather than just focusing on the Mary Sue known as Rey.
Oh, indeed. How were you two introduced to Star Wars? For me, from birth, my mum named me after Luke Skywalker / George Lucas's last name, which it makes me
I was
wonder.
introduced.
Yeah,
I was introduced to Star Wars from my father, who introduced it to my brother and me.
which makes sense because Star Wars is about Darth Vader, and Vader means father, so symbolism stuff.
Yeah, symbolism. Ooh, but yeah,
You know,
the
as I
character
think
Finn.
about it, go
Yeah,
ahead.
the character Finn overall was a disappointment because, again, we could have had a redemption arc for him where he was a stormtrooper turning into a Jedi, which did not happen. And half of the time, it wasn't even focused on him, and he was just getting his ass kicked.
Uh, well,
What do you think?
Rey sucked because she didn't really have like, how do I put it? She didn't. She all she had was she didn't seem to have much character. They just had to make her something great to beat Kylo, but they couldn't really think of what. It feels like to me anyway. They couldn't really think of what to do with her. Over and then we want to make her like Luke, but we don't know what to do. That's how it feels to me. And it feels like the whole oh we'll just make her another Skywalker, or no they wanted to make her another Skywalker, I
No.
assume, but then they
Yeah.
changed their mind, I assume. And then they're like, oh, we'll make her Palpatine's granddaughter or something. It feels like they don't know what to do with her. That's how it feels to me.
And then at the end of Rise of Skywalker, she steals the family name.
Skywalker? She becomes a Skywalker.
Yeah, she said at the end of the movie, I shit you not, she says, I am Rey Skywalker. After
How?
Luke and Leia had died, she steals the family name. After a
Okay,
meeting
I
he
mean,
had with Luke's ghost or something.
I don't
I don't know.
recall.
It was just a
time.
forgettable movie overall.
I'm glad. That just makes me happy. I didn't watch it, and because like that whole Rey and Kylo love thing came out of nowhere.
They kissed and then nothing happened. Then Kylo sacrificed himself during the fight with Palpatine.
That just raises questions to me. That's the thing about the sequel trilogy. It just raises questions, makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend watching it or The Last Jedi. They're both disappointments.
Yeah, here's the thing. From my knowledge, I've got a safe way to cover this all up. In my mind, the sequel trilogy, in my mind, takes place in another universe. That's the only
that's
way.
a good way of looking at it.
Because here's the thing. Mark Hamill himself has said that the Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy acts way differently to how he does in the original trilogy.
Yeah, want me to tell you why?
Why is that?
I'll tell you how. Luke is just a fallen hero throughout this whole trilogy.
The sequel one?
And yeah, so he was originally training Kylo Ren to become the next Jedi. And when he saw that, there was a vision basically saying that Kylo would turn to the dark side, or there were signs that he would turn to the dark side. And one night Kylo was sleeping. Luke got a lightsaber and was preparing to kill him to avoid that from happening, which is nothing like Luke because, for God's sake, he saw the good in Darth Vader. He thought Darth Vader could be redeemed, but he thought there were signs that Kylo might turn to the dark side, and he planned to kill him. So then Kylo woke up and fought Luke, and then Kylo turns evil. And Luke, feeling so ashamed, just became a complete recluse.
Yeah, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm just going to stand on the edge of this cliff and hope I fall off by the force or the wind, which I'm assuming that's what he was going to do. Like, I ever thought that Luke Skywalker, his character, wanted to kill himself before Rey showed up? That wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I don't know what he was doing. He was just living in that mountain.
Well, he was on the edge of that cliff.
After what happened with Kylo or Ben. Or Ben Solo, whatever you want to call him.
Oh yeah, I mean, there you go. Then that's that for you. Oh man. There's like I'm actually.
I will say there's a nice tribute to Obi-Wan when he dies by just fading away, and you just see his cloak flying away.
I suppose is that supposed to be like an homage to like A New Hope?
Exactly. That was pretty nice to see.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame what they did to Luke's character, a character that was so loved by the fans in the original trilogy, and rightfully so.
I mean, I mean, Return of the Jedi ended a nice way. The one complaint I have with Return of the Jedi is that not really complaint per se, but it felt a bit kind of the Imperial Army gets defeated by teddy bears, and it just makes the Imperial Army feel more pathetic.
Yeah, I agree. The Ewoks should not have defeated them that easily.
Well, because
they shouldn't have defeated them at all.
Well, it's weird because there's like slapstick with the Ewoks stealing vehicles and stuff. Then suddenly there's a sudden tonal inconsistency. So because it's all goofy. Then suddenly a stormtrooper will actually shoot someone, which is surprising enough, and it's all dark and morbid. Oh no, the bear's not moving. And then it goes back
again, like a stormtrooper's armor is not even armor if you're going to be killed with it while wearing it that easily. It's probably made in China.
Some of like the new additions to the original trilogy, like they had in the original trilogy, they had like the Yub Yub song, and then they changed it for like a grand fireworks fest for like, all the planets. I'm okay with that change because now that Palpatine's dead, the Empire. Well, that's very weird for me to say because here's the thing: in the prequel trilogy, basically the Empire had convinced the government or the Republic. Sorry, they convinced the Senate. That's what. The Empire had convinced Palpatine / the Empire had convinced the Senate that the Jedi were evil and the Empire is the good guys and all this stuff. But then when Return of the Jedi, for some reason the Senate is celebrating fireworks. They're happy that Palpatine is dead. Okay, so something happened behind the scenes that we're not aware of.
Not dead for long.
Well, that's his clone, so it's not really the same guy. So,
speaking of Palpatine and Kylo Ren, you know my big problem with the sequel trilogy as well was?
Okay.
He was the villains.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at the villains that they have in the sequel trilogy. Compared to the original and prequels. Say what you will about the prequels, but the prequels had good villains too. They had Dooku, Palpatine, Vader, Darth Maul, Grievous.
Yeah.
You think Grievous is a good villain?
He was to me.
Yeah, he was cool, but I don't know. A lot of people don't like him.
I don't know why everyone hates him so much because like he feels like the most active of the villains in the Clone Wars series.
Like the fact that he uses the lightsabers as weapons and basically flaunts the fact that he's killed so many Jedis. That's a pretty badass move of a villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, like villains like Kylo Ren, Snoke, which Snoke was literally 50 Cent Palpatine.
Yeah. Not to mention them.
Now I like Andy Serkis as an actor. Andy Serkis played Snoke really well. He does a ton of things well. Andy Serkis is one of my favorite actors, but he was just given such a shitty character and such poor material to work with. And Hux was just a joke.
I've heard some people say that Hux was supposed to be a double agent. If that's the case, he was that explains why he was acting shitty then.
I don't know what he was supposed to be.
Like
there was this whole there's a scene where he's giving a shouting speech to his entire army, which in a straight line, which people have joked about. This hits differently in German, if you get where this is going.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah.
So that's pretty much the only thing Hux is memorable for. And Kylo Ren could have been interesting, but his whole story was just lackluster.
It just seems
again with Luke's character derailment, it just made it all the more terrible.
It just seemed to me that Kylo Ren was a little boy with daddy issues, not just on Han Solo, but to Luke as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'm not really a fan of like if this guy is supposed to be the serious villain, why does he have these rage fits when he fails? Because no one can take you seriously if you whack your sword around, hacking shit and all this crap. If you're like, oh, I lost this droid, so I'm gonna whine and complain about it like a cartoon villain.
Similar to how I feel about Andy Serkis, Adam Driver is a fantastic actor, but he's most known for these terrible movies.
I have no idea. But that's just weird because, like, yeah, as I was saying though, Kylo Ren, when he fails, he whines
Not that,
complains
and
about it.
not that Andy Serkis is known for terrible movies, but I'm just saying that, like Andy Serkis, he's a great actor.
Oh, I love him.
And he was given poor material to work with.
That's a shame too. That's another thing. Snoke, there were a lot of good mysteries by the fans on who this guy was. Like someone said he was Darth Plagueis or Mace Windu corrupted by evil. But there were some good theories, like, who this could be. And it just so happens to be Palpatine again. And part of me is very pissed off about that because it takes the weight out of all of the prequels and the original trilogy built up to being this guy. And it feels like it was for nothing.
Yeah. Here's my other point. The fact that they had to bring back Palpatine as the main villain for the sequel's finale just shows how uninterested fans were of the new villains. Like, the fact that they're bringing back Palpatine shows that the villains were not impactful at all in this trilogy.
I mean, there were better ideas they could have done than just Palpatine again. Granted, I don't know who they would have done because most of the villains are kind of dead at this point. But there are probably some ones in the Clone Wars series you could find a way to get them in there. I'd have to think about it, but I'm sure there are some that are left. Oh yeah, I'll take it back. Cad Bane's still alive because they established what was it? Boba Fett? No, it was Mandalorian. Which show was it that he was in those live action shows? Cad Bane.
I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
Cad Bane is the bounty hunter with the cowboy.
Oh, Cad Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't watched the Clone Wars, but I know who Cad Bane is. He's a bounty hunter.
Yeah. So apparently he's in the Book of Boba Fett or the Mandalorian, and I'm assuming those shows take place after the original trilogy.
Well, they take around the time at least.
And according to my knowledge, that the original actor who played Cad Bane had reprised his role for that, so that would be more better than using Palpatine again. That's a good idea. Think about it. You don't need to have a Sith Lord be the villain every time. You can have there are other villains besides Sith Lords.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they didn't plan things out. Why they
Money.
did everything just so half-assed.
Money. That's all that matters. That's all that matters, apparently. Because
but it is nice seeing. It was nice seeing Yoda in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because we need to.
Speaking of Yoda, one thing I'll give the prequels is that wasn't it awesome seeing Yoda as a sane man, like instead of this crazy guy in the original trilogy. Yeah, he was smart, but he was whacked out of his mind clearly. And it was awesome to see him fight Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is a good movie.
Yeah, that just raises questions.
That's probably one of my top 3 Star Wars movies.
Oh, it is indeed. But the fight you were talking about does raise questions. Why did Palpatine not worry for Yoda? Why did Yoda run off in the first place? True, he lost his lightsaber, but I don't think that would really matter to Yoda. Yoda is supposed to be so powerful he doesn't need a weapon. But no, fuck, screw all logic. Take it back.
The main problem with the prequels, besides Jar Jar, from the fans' perception, was probably that it was political.
Oh yeah,
it was way too focused on space politics, especially Attack of the Clones. That was just a terrible movie, flat out.
Oh yeah. Bear in mind though, I could easily say this. I could happily rewatch Attack of the Clones 10 times over than the sequel trilogy. I could
actually, yeah.
Take it back. I mean, yeah, it's got a sappy romance, but hey, there's a lot of good things to like in Attack of the Clones that I'm willing to tolerate. Especially that fangasm moment with the whole Jedi fight in the Colosseum, where that's like a fan moment for other fans. All these Jedi going around killing all these droids. That's like for the fans, that is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the droids are really iconic. And that's pretty much all I remember from Attack of the Clones.
And even if you're pissed off with Anakin, with how his shitty performance is in that movie, it's very satisfying, as much as it's hard to say this, it's very satisfying when Anakin charges at Dooku and wants to get it over right now, and Dooku just blasts him in the face and knocks him out. That's sort of a fan moment. It's like the fans knew, like, we know this character is shit. We'll just go zap him.
And Dooku was a good villain.
Oh yes,
Dooku was really menacing because Christopher Lee, if he's playing a villain, he's going to be menacing.
Oh yes. From what I understand,
take Dracula and Saruman the White.
Oh yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
That's pretty awesome. What I do like about this is like he actually, of course, he did the Clone Wars movie. He actually watched the footage of the actor who does him in the show, and he says, "Well, I don't think you ever need me because this guy sounds just like me." So he's basically giving the credit to the guy who portrays him in the Clone Wars show that he's just as good as him, which is you can just tell to show that Count Dooku's role is in safe hands. So I'm happy
for sure.
So yeah.
Here's a side note. So for the Lord of the Rings movies where people were being stabbed, Christopher Lee actually came up with tips on how to do them because he served in World War II and he saw like how stabbings were done firsthand. So he would basically give tips to the actors and directors on how to execute those scenes because he saw them firsthand, given that he's serving in a war.
Pretty awesome, actually. That sounds.
Yeah.
I do like those little traits because, one, Dooku fights in a fighting style that we're familiar to, the old fencing fighting style, which is pretty cool. And two, his death in Revenge of the Sith had to be redone by Christopher Lee's opinion because the original plan was Dooku was supposed to beg for his life. And of course, Lee says that seems out of character for Dooku. He should say nothing. And of course, that paid off very nicely because Dooku has no fear.
So an actor that knows his characters.
Yeah.
And for all we know, I'm willing to bet that he was giving tips to the lightsaber fights because they're very similar to sword fights.
Oh yes. Jack Griffin, thoughts on The Last Jedi's female empowerment? First of all, I didn't watch Last Jedi. In fact, from what I understand, it's shit. So it all comes down to you, Ty.
So let me give my opinion. All right, so she was just Rey Skywalker, or I'll just call her Rey. She was nothing but a Mary Sue. Mark Hamill even joked, saying that she knows everything immediately, like how to use a lightsaber, because she's a woman. Really? Mark Hamill said that. Those were his words.
Okay.
Yeah, it is ridiculous how when she was first fighting Kylo Ren, she knows how to use a lightsaber perfectly. It just came to her. Remember that scene? The lightsaber just came to her in the forest, and she automatically knew how to fight Kylo despite having no training whatsoever.
So it has nothing to do with that she's a Skywalker, then?
I don't know what it has to do with. I'm being perfectly honest. They just didn't want to develop her character, it seems.
Yeah, very strange.
With Luke, Luke had flaws.
Of course he did.
Luke learned from them. And that made him a very interesting character. And despite his flaws and mistakes, he was still good at heart and a competent hero.
And he still won.
Same with Han.
Yeah, they still won, despite their flaws. So
Rey has no flaws, and it's not satisfying to see her win.
Oh yeah. We haven't talked about this character much, and I think he's missed potential in the sequel trilogy. That is Finn.
Yeah, I talked about Finn. As I said earlier, Finn could have been the next Jedi after being a former stormtrooper. They just threw that story away and just had Finn get his ass kicked the whole time. Not being useful in any way.
It's just a missed opportunity.
I did talk about that earlier.
Yeah, so I was
a completely missed opportunity.
I probably didn't mention it, but for my knowledge, I agree on that. I mean, having a stormtrooper as like a new Jedi, especially, there's not many. Think about it. There's not. I'm being honest with this. I mean, I wouldn't say it's in any way sort of negative, but we rarely ever see, aside from Samuel L. Jackson, what other Black Jedi that we know of.
I mean, there's not much besides
nice.
Mace Windu and Finn.
Well, there you go. So more Black
Finn's
Jedi.
not a Jedi,
Cool.
but like we only saw Mace Windu.
Yeah, so it would have been nice, but no, we have to have the pretty girl save the day against the emo boy. That's a thing.
We gotta have the strong, independent woman, right?
That's a thing. This movie's nothing but cliches. Like you have the strong, independent woman, as you said, versus the emo boy. Discount Snape. Discount. There's another thing. I feel like there's another discount.
Snape is too much of a compliment.
Yeah, okay, then what would you suggest comparing him to?
Just every single angry character who just freaks out like a little bitch. That's what I'd compare him to.
Oh, okay. Thoughts on...
Oh. What happened?
I think we're off. We're back. But yeah.
Yeah, we're back. What happened?
I have no idea. But Jack Griffin says, thoughts on Leia compared to other female heroes? Oh, Leia, I thought you meant Rey. Okay. Leia...
Leia was a good character.
Yeah, she was. Some people say that she was shafted in New Hope, but it's understandable why, because she's supposed to be the damsel, because you need to develop Luke.
But in Return of the Jedi, she showed that she wasn't just a damsel in distress, as she killed Jabba the Hutt after being captured.
Yeah, that's a thing that we don't know, because here's the thing with Jabba the Hutt and Leia as a slave. He brings her close, then they cut to her in that suit. So there's obviously some time passed. So I assumed Jabba did some sort of rapey things or some stuff that we don't know of, because there's no there's no reason she would kill Jabba like that unless something happened that we're not aware of. That's what I think.
Or maybe she just had to kill Jabba at that moment to rid the world of evil. Get what I'm saying? Maybe it wasn't for any deep reason than that.
Rid the world of evil. Killing Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, he's the head of the Tatooine clan, but it won't stop the Empire.
He's pretty much a mob boss in the Star Wars universe.
Indeed. But yeah, overall, it was satisfying, I would say, to say the least. From what I understand, I don't know if you know this, but I'm doing, like, there are Star Wars theories out there and all that stuff, and I'm trying to put, like, a playlist of them together. I was doing so well on it so far, but then I lost my footage, so I was like, okay, I'll just break into parts. But what I found out was, from what I've gathered from the fans, is that Plagueis is actually behind everything. And what I mean by that is, he was the one who wanted to get Count Dooku as his apprentice because he didn't like Palpatine, and Palpatine got jealous of that. So he's like, okay, I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to use this, and he'll be my apprentice. Also, he was behind, Plagueis wanted to do the whole Clone Wars idea. He was behind that. And he was going to give this little plan to, what's his name, Sifo Dyas, and then that would have come into play. So all the little trinkets that Palpatine plans are basically plans he stole from his master to get back at him for what he did to him. That's pretty cool.
Interesting.
And that's also involving. He also knew about Anakin Skywalker, which of course is Plagueis' son, from what I understand, several theories. And of course, Shmi gets because I don't know about this part though, because I'm not fairly sure of it. Is like I don't know if Plagueis knows this, but there's a Chosen One prophecy, of course, which the prequels have added, that Anakin is destined to beat Palpatine and save the universe and all that stuff. I don't know if Plagueis knew that the Chosen One was Anakin, but I feel like even if he knew, I guess you feel like, even if he kills me, well, he's gonna get wiped out anyway. It just takes a very long time for it to happen, though. But regardless, I think it's pretty cool knowing that Plagueis is like the ultimate mastermind that created the ultimate mastermind that was his apprentice. So there's a lot of puppet work. Yeah. Okay. One Star Wars character.
What did you think of the Clone Wars?
Huh?
What did you think of the Clone Wars?
Oh, loved it. Both the cartoon, the animated version, and the 2008 version, because there's technically two Clone Wars series. One by
I haven't watched it, but it's pretty cool that they turned out, a lot of the characters from the series turned out to be really popular enough to get a live action adaptation, like Ahsoka, which got her own spin-off series.
Before we get into that, Dracula says one Star Wars character you wish didn't die. You go first.
I mean, to me, all Star Wars characters got an appropriate ending. There wasn't any
Really?
character that died which I thought was unnecessary.
Okay. So you're
Oh, I
completely
didn't really
happy
have
how
any
everyone died.
strong feelings.
Oh yeah, I got it. I knew one character Star Wars. Okay, if we ignore the shows, there is one Star Wars death that I can agree that you would say that. Okay, I take that back. There is a, and that is Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, how come?
Because if we don't count the shows, right, and pretend they didn't exist, Boba Fett had a shitty death, and everyone makes fun of it. But yeah. For me though, when it comes to the characters I felt annoyed with Luke's death because it just raised questions on how he died. Some say the Force killed him, and some say he killed himself. But it doesn't, like you said, like Mark Hamill said himself, it just feels out of character for Luke to die or get beaten this way. So that's the death I'm ticked off about.
The reason why Luke's death didn't bother me that much was because he wasn't doing anything in the series. And again, his whole character just went downhill when he decided, Ben Solo's turning to the dark side, or he has the potential to turn to the dark side. So what do? Yeah, fucking kill him. And that's completely out of character for Luke, who saw the good in Darth Vader.
Very weird. I don't know. It just
after Darth Vader commit more than multiple atrocities across many planets, and you still see the good in him. I know he's your father, but you can't have that bias when Ben Solo hasn't even committed any murders yet. At the time when Luke was considering to murder Han Solo's son. And I also would have liked to see a conflict between Han and Luke after this happened. Maybe The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens could have had a flashback where this is all happening. Even though the story is poorly executed, it would have been interesting to see, other than Luke just narrating it happening. Maybe have an argument between Han and Luke saying, hey, your son has the potential to turn to the dark side. And Han's in denial of this. And Han gets livid at Luke once he realizes that Luke was going to kill Ben for potentially turning to the dark side. You get me? It could have been done better.
Very much so. Something I will say though is that when it comes to the Jedi as a whole, I don't, how do I put them? They're not. I think I froze, but whatever. I'm back. Okay. The Jedi to me, they're not. I think you can agree with this. The Jedi aren't good. They're not.
Yeah.
They have lots of flaws, which is why Anakin turned to the dark side, because he saw the Jedi's. They were stuck in their ways, basically. They were trying to keep themselves at bay, but Palpatine was pushing the Clone Wars, so they had to be pushed into generals, soldiers. And they even got names like General and stuff. So, and because there's the Jedis are stuck in their ways, they try to keep their whole plan is we're going to keep Anakin at bay so he doesn't go down the dark path. But because they were pushing Anakin back, he was more tempted to go down the dark path, and it just makes the Jedi very. It's not. From what people have complained that the Jedi are weak for not guessing that Palpatine is Sidious and all that stuff, but apparently, from what I understand, Palpatine is so powerful that he's able to cloak himself with the Force so that the Jedi can't sense his dark power, which I guess that is a reason. So that's pretty cool. Overall, though, that's one of the reasons why the Jedi are supposed to suck so much, because the whole point is Luke is supposed to bring back the Jedi in a new way, but that didn't happen because I'm done. As you said, he tried to bring back the Jedi with Ben, and of course it didn't work. Some people have said, why doesn't Luke make Leia a Jedi? And apparently, from what I've read in the stuff, he didn't like his own sister as a Jedi, apparently. She wasn't really good at it. Some of that. That's what I've read.
I mean, not everyone's meant to be a Jedi, let's be honest.
No. You can still have a Jedi,
but Luke became a Jedi because he had the qualities for it. The Force pretty much chose him.
Oh yes, because well, Anakin is the chosen one, but when the prophecy is complete, the fate of the world, or the fate of the galaxy, I guess, is in Luke's hands essentially, and in a way, the galaxy just said no to him.
Yeah. I heard a comedian online say that Harry Potter and Star Wars are the same franchise. And let me explain what he said. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to think that it's kind of similar too. So, Luke was taken in by some other relatives.
Oh, okay.
And some old guy came in and said, "Hey, we're going to train him to be this." And they were like, "Nah, this is absolute blasphemy. You're not going to take him to teach him this stuff." The old guy takes him anyways. He trains him. And he has one male friend, one female friend, which is a sister in the case of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And the secondary male character ends up being the love interest of the female character.
Okay. Well, that says that. I haven't read much of this lore, but pretty interesting.
Do you know the lore of Harry Potter?
I'll take your word for it.
Oh, so I take it you're not that into Harry Potter.
Oh, I've watched the movies and I've read the books, but I don't really go into like the extensive lore of it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've read for the books. I've read the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, whatever you want to call it, and the Chamber of Secrets. And
I made it all the way to 6, and I stopped because the book was too big. But I'm glad we made that far. There is, of course, when it comes to like a bit of when it came to like the knowledge of the Star Wars stuff. Apparently, Plagueis and Palpatine, there was only one Jedi they feared that could ruin everything. You know who that Jedi was?
Who was it?
You want to take a guess?
I don't know. You tell me.
It was my favorite Jedi of the entire Jedi arsenal, Qui-Gon Jinn. And it makes sense because he acts the most different compared to all the Jedi. He believed in Anakin so much, he had such a strong belief in the prophecy that apparently, according to this, the Force itself wanted him to die because I assume, like the MCU, like we have this prophecy that we need Anakin to do these specific things in order for Palpatine to get taken out. So he has to betray the Jedi. He has to beat them up. Palpatine has to look like he's won, and then give it like a few decades, and then you have to get his son, of course, to convince him to make him good, and then you'll get the prophecy complete. That's asking a lot, but okay. But we need this Jedi to die because he's the one Jedi that could ruin everything. So
and then Obi-Wan went to train Anakin.
And that was a bad move. Nothing against Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan to me, and even Anakin says this, Anakin has said at one point that he treats him like a father figure, but to me and the fans, he seems more like a big brother figure to me than a father figure to me.
Wait, wasn't Qui-Gon Jinn training Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan went to train Anakin?
Yes, and you said Obi-Wan is a bad master, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even Obi-Wan admits in episode 3, I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you. So, I feel like there was a lack of communication there. At least Obi-Wan admitted that he had failed Anakin. At least he said sorry in a way. Because, like, part of it was,
Luke,
I guess.
And he was like, they could have done things better. They could have looked it over like, hey, Anakin's not in a good mental state. As Obi-Wan was training Anakin, he was being brainwashed by Palpatine, saying that Padme is going to be doomed. Terrible things are going to happen if you don't do this. And then Order 66 was executed. And you know how that turned out.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. And only 3 Jedi, or technically 4, because the additional of the shows and all that stuff, it's very weird because like only so many Jedi sensed it. Ahsoka, Yoda, obviously Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, who essentially is, I'm not going to say that name, but tall head guy with the blue lightsaber. He sensed it, and then there was what's his name? He's the guy in the new Star Wars games in the PS4. What's it called? Fallen Order. His master,
Yeah.
basically, Cal Kestis, I believe. He sensed it too. So there were a few Jedi that did sense it, but of course it wasn't enough. There is that new
and it just turned out the way that it did.
Oh, indeed. Personally, I think it was well overdone. I mean, there are some questionable things, but there were some moments that stood out to me in that scene. Though I think it was well executed, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that for you. I think.
So, what do you think of the?
Yep.
Now let's discuss the spin-off series that have been made that have been released on Disney Plus.
Okay,
and that's really the crux of where I'm saying that Disney is milking Star Wars for all that it's worth. Aside from
on the bright side, though, I can happily say I am never going to buy Disney Plus.
Yeah, I bought Disney Plus only because I wanted to watch Marvel movies, but I can see by the new releases being made that Disney's doing nothing but milking Star Wars for all they can.
Granted, though, if I want to,
there's a new children's series in the Star Wars universe called Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures, which takes place years before the prequels. But if it was near the prequels, you know what would have happened with young Jedis.
Now, look at it for me. I haven't seen these shows, but from what I've gathered from fans, the only one worth watching is the Mandalorian show and maybe Boba Fett.
I haven't watched any of the shows. Like, I looked at Young Jedi Adventures. I looked at the promotional art. Like, look at it yourself right now, and you'll see. When I looked at it, I thought to myself, "What the actual fuck am I looking at?" Like, you'll see why if you look at it.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. 'Cause I think for me, Star Wars.
Like, think of anything made by Disney Junior that's a CGI children's show, and that's literally what it looks like.
All right.
It's not worth checking out. Neither are the other spin-offs to me.
Something that I
hear very bad things about them too. I don't hear great things. I hear they're very underwhelming. They're very rushed from how rampant they are, how frequent they come out. It's unbelievable.
Okay. I was just saying that, two things. First of all, one thing I will give credit for the First Order is at least the First Order's soldiers felt more threatening than the Stormtroopers. And I do like their design. That's what I'll say. The second thing I wanted to say was that I don't know if you saw it, but if you watch, I'm assuming if you look up bits and pieces of the Ahsoka series, you'll see there's also another Anakin there. And I was questioning, is that like Force Ghost Anakin or whatever? But he has like a red lightsaber and stuff. Or maybe it's flashbacks. But from what I understand, get this. When I actually read this up, turns out that Palpatine, when Vader lost his limbs, Palpatine had secretly gathered two things. He had secretly raised a backup apprentice in case Vader betrayed him, which he does multiple times. And two, he also had backup plans of he had a clone of Anakin Skywalker, and that clone could be the clone we see in Ahsoka.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he. But we all know.
But we all know what Anakin would have done if he was in the show Young Jedi Adventures, which is a show about kids training to be Jedis. You know, that would have been much better than how the show probably turned out itself. That could be the series finale. Just Anakin making an appearance and Anakin winning during Order 66. That would be an awesome finale.
We are clocking around an hour on the timer. Shall we call it there?
Yeah, so what are your thoughts? Do you think Disney is milking Star Wars for all it's worth?
In all shortness, that's an obvious yes. I think the whole majority of the fan base will agree with you there. Is there a way Star Wars / Disney can come back? It takes a lot of work. The thing you need to do is, I believe there's a woman called Kathleen Kennedy that is responsible for most of this stuff. I believe. Yeah. Her name is Kathleen Kennedy.
But the thing is, who is really to blame for the decline in Star Wars?
Not George Lucas. I'm not blaming him. that he.
No, but like I'm talking about people like Ryan Johnson, for example.
Oh yeah.
Is Ryan Johnson to blame for like directing these movies and pretty much implying that he endorses it?
I thought it was J.J. Abrams, but I guess I was wrong.
Or is it J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson?
You can look it up if you want.
Who is it? Or is it like Disney themselves? Who is to blame?
I guess in a way, all of them, in a way, take a piece of the pie, 50-50, break down the middle.
That's where I'm getting. That's where I'm getting to. Like Disney's the ringleader. J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, and everyone else doing these spin-offs, they're the conspirators, and Disney's the ringleader.
At the end of the day, though. Oh yeah. Point is, though, people only care. Most of these people only care about one thing: getting paid, about getting money. So in that sense, they're all like dominoes. They all want the same goal: money, because you need money to pay for bills and make a living, and they don't really care.
Disney is a huge company. They're the biggest animation studio ever. They want to make money.
I mean,
but now what they're doing is they just want money, and they're not really concerned about entertaining the fans anymore. As many people have said, they're just concerned with financial gain, and it's sad to me, you know.
Well, we don't know what these people's personal lives are. For all we know, these people could be struggling. They probably have bills to pay. They probably have big families and all that stuff. There's probably reasons why that we don't know, because we don't know these people. But at the very least, I don't know. Even if there are bigger things at stake, the least you could do is do a bestest job you can. And if this is their best, then I guess thank you for doing your best, but I would expect more.
And by the way, there are 3 more Star Wars movies that are being planned.
That's no surprise. On the bright side,
it doesn't. Sadly, it does not surprise me at all. But I really just hope the best for it. And I hope people who actually are passionate about Star Wars and not just money are responsible for making these films. And I hope they're pleasant surprises.
As long as they do this,
just cross our fingers.
As long as they
cross our fingers.
Okay. I was going to say, as long as they do this one thing, if there's probably going to be a new sequel trilogy. If there is, if they do this one thing, if you keep the original characters from the original trilogy that you've already killed off dead, and don't bring back like the characters that we need to, like, you know, the characters that we established, start your own universe. I'm okay if they bring back the Empire, because the Stormtroopers are the Stormtroopers are okay in any way, come back. I'm okay with that, because you need some sort of nostalgic thing from Star Wars to come back to get the fans in, of course. So if the Empire comes back with a new Sith Lord and no recurring characters, I'm okay with that. Will you agree?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, of course, Disney wants to cash in on nostalgia, but you want familiar elements to your Star Wars movie as well,
you do.
right?
Yeah, you do.
Like, take the original theme. The original theme will always be in the opening of every Star Wars movie, no matter what. It's the most iconic theme in pop culture. It's the goddamn Star Wars theme, you know?
I would argue the Darth Vader theme is more popular than the original theme, but okay.
It's iconic, but I don't think it's more popular than the Star Wars theme itself.
Oh, fair enough.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Pretty good there. I mean, it's a toss-up. There are some good tracks in John Williams.
Maybe it's a tie at best.
Oh, yeah, it is. Also, claps to John Williams' music, because I know he's retired now after that Indiana Jones 5. Yeah. But claps for him for doing all these tracks.
Jurassic Park, Star Wars. He's done all this amazing work in these iconic movies. I salute you, John Williams.
Oh, indeed you do. As for standout tracks for me, of course, it's Duel of Fates, Battle of Heroes, which is basically the Anakin Obi-Wan fight. Of course, the original theme. Darth Vader theme, I'll just say that way. There's the love theme for Padme and Anakin. I like that one too. That's good. I don't think... Oh, yeah, when they're underwater in the Naboo, under the water, there's that deep theme. It's like this aquatic theme, you know what I'm talking about? When they're underwater and they're going all the way to feed. That's a good theme too. I think that's all the good themes that I can remember that will stick out to me. Maybe the Camino
one. First fight between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. I liked him fighting the original trilogy. they've had multiple they've had multiple lightsaber fights.
Oh yeah,
But
the order
each one is awesome. Each one is perfect.
Oh, that was awesome. I was also saying that the Order 66 theme is a good one, and of course the theme where Anakin basically marches to the Jedi Temple, that's all a standout moment as well.
Oh yeah.
So there are some good there. Overall, Star Wars to me will never die. As in the Star Wars that we love will never die. And the safest way I can say it is, to me, you have to, if you don't like how Star Wars is doing, as long as you keep in your mind anyway, but the Star Wars that you don't like takes place in another universe, it at least takes away some of the dread that, because like most people are upset with Star Wars because of it's ruining their already established characters that they like. And the only way to really get around that now is like just say it takes place in another universe, and in a way it makes sense to you where you can be okay with it in a way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my advice.
Overall thoughts. Overall, I won't really watch the spin-offs as they don't interest me at all. But I'm willing to check out the other 3 films that are apparently coming out. I just hope that they're really good. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And people will always remember the original trilogy as the best. No matter what. People are not going to say that the other trilogies are the best. That's not realistic. Because people remember the original trilogy the most. And that's the thing that they have the most nostalgia for. It's
the only thing I would say is like I haven't watched the shows either, but if I was in your position, I would say at least give Boba Fett and Mandalorian a look to see, because Boba Fett got,
maybe,
and you'd agree with me in this, Boba Fett, the bounty hunter in the original trilogy, as cool as he is, he didn't really get to do much, and seeing him in a series would be interesting to see, so that's probably worth a look. And Mandalorian is like a new character, so it doesn't really affect anything that's established prior to our knowledge. So I don't really see there's no really negative reason not to look at Mandalorian, because what is it really hurting?
Mandalorian is the only Star Wars show that I've honestly seen good reviews for, aside from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, there you go. Knowing Disney, though, they'll just keep doing it. Apparently, their strong point right now is doing as many Disney live-action remakes as possible. Their recent one they're doing is Hercules, I believe. They're working on that one. Lilo and Stitch is the one they're working on.
They've listed so many remakes without even filming at least 5 of them. None of them are in production at the moment. None of them are filming, and they just keep announcing more remakes, which is really frustrating to a lot of fans. And it's been the same thing with DC movies. Ever since the DC Extended Universe first started, when Justice League came out, and around that time, DC just kept announcing movies left and right. They announced Batgirl, which was in production recently, but last year, I believe, it was canceled. And they announced Lobo. They announced a Nightwing movie. They announced the Blue Beetle movie way back when, which came out, but it did poorly because of considering how poorly The Flash did, which I saw, it was a terrible movie. I'm not surprised that Blue Beetle didn't do as well. And they announced more movies. They announced Superman. They announced Man of Steel 2, which has still not happened. And forget about those other movies. Forget about that Cyborg movie they announced. None of it's happening at this point. And with the DCEU now restarting with James Gunn in charge, which I trust James Gunn considering how great Guardians of the Galaxy 3 turned out. James Gunn's going to do an amazing job with Superman Legacy and the rest of this new universe that he has planned.
Okay. Well,
and by the way, there's a Star Wars project that's going to come out on YouTube, and I'm voice acting in it.
Oh, really?
It's going to be called Star Wars Rhyme of Time. I'll give you updates, and maybe you could promote it.
Yeah, sure. Well, whenever the finished project is done, I'll be happy to send a link and I'll check it out.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be voicing Sheev Palpatine / Darth Sidious.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you got the role.
Look forward to that.
That's pretty awesome. I look forward to seeing it. So you're from one villain to another villain, because you're already got a hit role with the Joker, and you're already going to get a hit role in my show as one of the main villains. And now you're going to get you for some reason you keep getting these big villain roles.
Villains are really fun for me to play. Sometimes I play good characters, but villains are my specialty, I'd say.
What would you say for you makes a great villain performance for you to deliver across?
I could do any villain. I could do like an eccentric villain, a very dark villain.
All right.
And what makes a good villain in terms of qualities, like a fear factor, a genuine threat, and good motives. Even if he's just a pure evil sociopath, have him at least be entertaining to watch and a genuine threat. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Well, I look forward to if my show comes back. Take back when it comes back. Well, I can't say when. Because the thing is, it comes down to the voice actors. If the voice actors get tired of me waiting for so long for the show, they might leave, and I can't really stop them. But as long as they tell me they want to leave, that's what I appreciate at the very least. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it because my character Prince Impus is supposed to be, in a way, he is kind of like Kylo Ren, in a way to link it to Star Wars. But the thing is, he's a fleshed out character because he's weak in power. He can't really measure up to. He's supposed to be. The concept is for me. What I wanted to be unique with villains is most villains tend to be the individuals in their own right, but they have. And that's why they have this big army and all that stuff. But for me, I was trying to be a bit more creative with the villain. I was trying to make the villain very weak, but he had this big grand army and this big reputation behind him of why he was so awesome. And that's why when the time comes when he's breaking down, crying and sulking like he wants all this power, and when the time comes, he will eventually transform into, well, your performance, which will be, of course, that Olympius.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be really fun.
Oh, indeed.
See Impus just go to 1 to 1,000.
Oh yeah.
This season.
I think what's going to make it work, because this is a good thing. What you should always know: if you do a villain in any way, make sure he's not just you can do a one-note villain if it's like a cartoon. But to be fair, my show is a cartoon. But here's the thing: Impus himself is a cartoon villain. And yeah, I'm a bit off topic with this, but I think, in a way, it's kind of linking to Star Wars because about villains and how you should do them. So there's that for you.
But, take notes, sequel trilogy. Take notes.
Well, there you go. But like, you could have a whiny villain, a pathetic comic relief villain, but make it break him, make it challenge him. Like my character, make him have connections with characters, and when he loses these characters that he's come to friends with, he feels pain, he feels loss, he feels all these emotions, and he wants to take it out, but he knows he can't because he's not strong enough, because he knows it, and he wants to do personal things. For example, my character Prince Impus has a mother figure, and one day his mother figure won't be there to save him and carry him away, and he knows he can't do anything to get revenge because he's not strong enough. He wants his power, and he doesn't understand why. And reasons why I have in the story, I already set up why he doesn't have his power, and it's just a ticking time bomb when he's going to get it. So
yeah,
I'm not and he's
getting it pretty much in this season.
Yeah, indeed, I'm not a Star Wars director. I'm not. But my story alone, well, to me anyway, sounds more far interesting than anything that Kylo Ren has.
Yeah. You could do a Star Wars story way more interesting than anything the sequel trilogy had. If Disney was to hire you to write the new sequels coming out, which I'm doubting that they would let you have a lot of the creative control, because nowadays Disney movies are made by like corporate. They're so corporate. They don't let directors and storytellers tell their own stories. It's the same thing with Marvel and DC nowadays. But DC is getting a little better with them, letting James Gunn do his own thing and letting Todd Phillips do his own thing with Joker. DC's getting a lot better, but Marvel, not so much. And Star Wars especially, we're looking pretty iffy. But if you had complete creative control, you would do it far better than anything J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson did.
Here. And with that being said, we are at 1 hour and approaching to 1 hour 20. So I think I'll cut it here because in my time zone is basically, I'm not going to lie to you, it is literally 1 hour till midnight.
All right. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Well, for my mom's sake, she's asleep and I don't want to keep her yapping on all night. So for her sake, I will. But with that being said, in shortness, for Star Wars, I think what they have to do is they need to, cut down on. They have to start from scratch, like the MCU or like the DCU. They have to start from scratch. Yes, bring back some familiar elements like the Empire, the Stormtroopers in a new way, shape, or form. I'm okay with that. You need your familiar elements. I'm okay with that. Just make sure you keep the original characters that you've already established dead, and because you don't want the fans do not like you ruining the characters that you had in the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy as well. I'm assuming. So start from fresh. Have characters that we care about. Have them develop instead of being one note, and you will have something there.
Yeah, that's all the fans want. They just want good characters, good story. They don't want any Mary Sue elements. They just want the original Star Wars. They want the original spirit. Not the original characters, of course, because a lot of them are dead, but the original spirit. That's all they want.
I think a nice change is you don't need to always have Jedi and Sith as the main focus. Yeah, you need a lightsaber fight in there, but it doesn't always have to be like the main big thing. I think it'd be really cool to see if we had like a Star Wars trilogy that didn't focus on the Jedi and Sith for a change. There are other elements about the Star Wars universe besides the Jedi and Sith that are interesting out there.
As it states, it's a universe.
It is.
The universe is never ending. Like, imagine all the species, planets, and other humans that they have here.
Heck, the tagline of Star Wars is "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away."
Far away.
Yeah,
the entire galaxy. Explore the rest of the galaxy aside from the Jedi or Sith. That's a pretty good idea.
It would be cool. Part of me would have liked to have seen like the whole. This is in the comics where they have the whole Anakin and Darth Vader in his head fight in Mustafar, and I would have loved to see that in live action. That would be pretty cool to see. But no, Star Wars is run by Disney now, so we can't have these.
Yeah, I think they should just get away from villains like Darth Vader or Palpatine. Have new villains.
Well, the thing is, though,
with interesting motives.
Well, the thing is, though, they kind of need Darth Vader because, like we said prior, they've already established a contract with him, so they kind of want Darth Vader to be around. And I'm not saying you can't have Darth Vader anymore because there are ways to have him. Have him in what
I think stuff. Is don't make him a main villain. You can reference him, of course, but don't make him a main villain. Focus on other villains and other heroes.
I would have been cool for this series. Like, what if you had a series that takes place before, episodes? Well, between 3 and 4, obviously. What if we had a show where we had Vader have trained multiple different. Every episode, he would have like a different apprentice, and we could see how many ways he kills all these different apprentices and how they fail him. So it gets us to either hate Vader more or wish he could come back to the light. I think there's ways you can do Darth Vader without it affecting the prequels or the original trilogy. There are ways to do that. I mean,
that's as long
as you keep Darth
maybe
Vader's
have his apprentices. Maybe have an interesting apprentice of his be a main villain. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. All you've got to do though is make sure that none of these apprentices lost. Make sure that Vader kills them in some way. Maybe that's even cool. Think of the ways you could kill these guys, not just by his own actions but force, but he could even manipulate them to die. Because he has to keep his low guard so that Palpatine does not find out. And look at us right now. We're having a cool conversation of how many potential there is for these characters. So there are ways that you can do them. Just don't overuse them. But that being said, I think I'll call it for tonight. But thank you, Ty. I appreciate you stopping by.
Great being on here.
Indeed. And thank you for the chat, for everyone leaving in their questions. I do really appreciate it. But that being said, I've said my final thoughts on what Disney should do. Ty, would you like to give your final thoughts on what they should improve on?
My final thoughts, again, like I said, just give them Star Wars in the original spirit. And don't have Rey be a main protagonist anymore. I think we're just done with her at this point.
Right.
Focus on the vast galaxy that Star Wars has. Focus on other characters. And don't just fixate on the same villains over and over.
Indeed.
Have new villains and have them be interesting. They're never going to be as popular as Palpatine or Vader. No. But they will leave an impression on fans.
And there you go. That's all it takes. Just the right thing to do. And with that being said, I think there's only one more line to say to end this discussion. And that line is, for the ending line of this
Force be with you.
How did you know I was going to say that? But yes.
We all know we all know what to say when we're saying goodbye.
Of course. May the power protect you always.
May the
Good night,
force be
everyone.
with you.
Mm.